Funky Politics.
Hey, that's right. Welcome back to Funky Politics. I am DC. Oh my God, this is a special edition of Funky Politics brought to you. You know what? I want to make sure you all know that Funky Politics will be running Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Always catch us Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. But today is special. I had to go out and just corral one hell of a guest today, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But let me get into this thing right now. 45. Once again, he's decided he's going to define anybody and everybody whenever he wants to. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, she said, boy, keep your mouth off people. The words sometimes you use against people, you'll have to eat them one day. I don't understand why this president, of all presidents we've ever had, has got to make sure that anything that comes out of his mouth is negative and it's always bringing somebody down. So take a quick listen here on his idea of Senator Kamala Harris.
Just 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump said Kamala Harris would be a, quote, fine choice to be Joe Biden's running mate. Today, he called her a disaster.
She is a disaster. She's going to be a disaster, I think, for their party.
And in an indication of how he's likely to take on Biden and Harris as the campaign goes forward, he called both of them socialists.
I heard, actually, she's the most liberal person in all of Congress. That's what I've heard. More liberal than Bernie Sanders, believe it or not.
So far, Team Trump has been all over the map in their attacks on Harris. A Republican Party spokeswoman, for example, tweeted Harris is, quote, completely controlled by the radical left. But an RNC press release then declared liberals are in revolt over Biden's choice. On a call with reporters, Trump surrogates called Harris, who is a former district attorney, both too soft on criminals and also too tough.
Hey, there's an old term back in the day that we used to use, and I'm sure Senator Harris is probably saying this about this president. Dude, you paper. Just be quiet. Some of y'all will get that. Went over here, but some of y'all will get that. I understand Donald J. Trump is paper. That's what we're going to leave. We're going to leave it as he's just paper. But anyway, hey, look, as I've stated before, we've got some issues in our country with people who are either renting or leasing and evictions and foreclosures. There are going to be some things that are going to be happening in our country here as we go towards September because of the Congress. The Congress has failed. Of course, you know, you had the Senate who decided, hey, we're going to go to the House right now. We tried all we could. We're going to go on to the House. Well, check this out, just to get some context on what these things are looking like in other parts of the country, you know, especially places in Texas. Take a listen to this.
President Donald Trump signing several executive orders today to provide individual relief from the pandemic, including a move to extend a moratorium on evictions for some residents.
Yeah, that moratorium had covered about half the rental properties here in San Antonio when it expired July 24th. It was the last of varying layers of eviction protections.
That's right. The Night Team's Gary Berger looks at what dangers struggling renters face.
As people have lost their paychecks, there's a fear many could lose their homes through eviction.
This prolonged pandemic is affecting our most vulnerable in so many.
Please, y'all, please, I'm asking the Senate, do your jobs. I know you're at home right now. You're probably on the golf course somewhere, but do your jobs. We need relief, and we need relief right now because there's a lot of folks in our country that are hurting right now. And if you don't provide that relief out of the Senate, and work with the White House and say, this is what we need. Come to a compromise with the House. You got to come to a compromise. If you're not going to do $1 trillion, they say they won't do $3 trillion. Let's get together. Let's do $1.5 trillion. Let's do $2 trillion. But we got to do something. Folks are getting ready to lose everything they have. And mostly it'll be their homes and their livelihoods. And they'll be on the street. And then you have somewhere around 15 million people living on the streets. Then what are we going to do? Boy, I tell you, this thing is just trash. It's complete trash. On to another subject, Chicago. You know, Chicago it's endearing to me. My family's from Chicago, my mother's side. And one thing I'd like to make sure that I let those Chicagoans know, we see you. What's happening in your city is no different than some of the other major cities around the country that's got a lot of unrest going on, a lot of racism going on. We all know about the city of Chicago. We know the history of Chicago. We know the history that surrounds the suburbs of Chicago, right? But all I want to say to you is when you have a police department that is as dogmatic as the city of Chicago's police department and the leadership in terms of the union, all I'm going to say is whenever we get the opportunity, qualified immunity needs to be gone. Hey, take a listen to this guy, Catanzaro, who happens to be the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, on his thoughts about bringing federalized troops and agents to the city of Chicago against Mayor Lightfoot's wishes.
Now is Chicago Fraternal Order of Police President John Catanzara. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
We heard Mayor Lightfoot say that she absolutely does not want federal troops brought into Chicago. Have you spoken to the mayor?
I have not.
What would you say to her if you could meet? Have you tried to reach out to her?
No, I think that for the time being that perception is, or that communication is probably unplugged after the text message barrage that she sent my way and the name calling that resulted from it. But I think that she should take up the president on his offer, especially with a pending march or whatever you want to call it, that's for the Dan Ryan on Saturday. And the reality that is a federal felony, obstruction of commerce.
And there we have it. Where else but in the city of Chicago? John Catanzaro, who happens to be the president of FOP, look, work with your mayor. Work with your mayor. You all can police the streets of Chicago. This didn't just happen yesterday. Killings in Chicago didn't just start yesterday. Get me? It didn't just start yesterday. And it's not fake news. No federalized troops on the streets of Chicago, the streets of Memphis, the streets of Houston, anywhere else. We're not going to do that. We don't need federalized troops. That's what you pay police departments for. That's what you get those nice pensions for. Do your jobs. Work with the mayor of the city of Chicago. Lori Lightfoot, we got you back down here. We got you back in the South, all right? Speaking of getting that back, we got a hell of a guest today. One and only Tonyaa Weathersbee, the University of Florida's Hall of Famer. The sister's a Hall of Famer. I want to make sure y'all know that. She's also a columnist with the Commercial Appeal newspaper right here in Memphis, Tennessee. So let me tell you, she's going to sit in. She's going to be a guest, but she's been on this show so many times, I think she can really just take my seat. But today she's going to be a guest. We're going to get into a lot of issues that are hitting our country right now. So give me just a moment. After the break, we'll bring you Tonyaa Weathersbee of the Commercial Appeal newspaper.
Being black isn't what I'm trying to be, it's what I am.
Jazz, America's own original musical art form. When did it start? Who were and are some of the major players? How do you distinguish what kind of jazz you're listening to? We talk about the great and lesser-known artists, songs and tunes, the instruments, and the social impact jazz has had on world culture since its beginning at the start of the 20th century.
Riffin' on jazz on the Kudzukian Network.
I've got the one and only Tonyaa Weathersbee sitting in with us today here on Funky Politics. I left something out. Tonyaa, the best of Gannett. Now,
Yes.
now, not just the University of Florida Hall of Fame School of Journalism, but tell us about the best of Gannett. How did that come about?
Well, I was very shocked back in I think it was May. It's so hard to keep the date straight because everybody had been in quarantine. It's like,
So it could have been May,
but
could have
back
been June.
in May, I got an email from the corporate people who said that I had won. I had won a Best of Gannett honor for my columns.
Wow.
And I was one of three. Keep in mind, Gannett has over close to 400 papers, Gannett and Gatehouse over the country. And they only gave this award to, I think, maybe about over 100 people in Gannett. And I was one of the ones who won, and one of three people honored in Tennessee at Gannett paper. So, whoop, whoop.
Congratulations. We're going to do the whoop whoop with
Whoop,
Tonyaa,
whoop.
right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of whoop whoop, let's get right into this thing. I think this week has been, Tonyaa, I don't know. This has been a week of all weeks, right?
Oh, boy, yeah. It's been crazy.
We got Kamala Harris, who is the designee to run as a vice presidential candidate for Joe Biden. Tonyaa, would you ever thought a real sister, is up to be on a ticket? This is not only historic, but it's why. And then you got some hate from your own folks. But look, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the history of it. Let's talk about how historical this is right now.
Oh, and this political moment is very historic. And also, for a while, there were a lot of people who were concerned. They were saying things like, well, maybe because a lot of people are still flummoxed from what happened in 2016.
Sure.
There are a lot of folks who believe that people are, and to a certain extent, you got racism involved and stuff. And they thought maybe it might be not a very safe choice to put a sister on the ticket right now. But I always thought that was bogus because the most energized part of the Democratic base are African-American women, African-Americans, people of color who are really motivated to vote in this election. I mean, and if you look at just the demographic breakdown, it's a different America now, so it would have been a strategic mistake at this point for Joe Biden to not have gone with a woman of color. And as far as women of color goes, and you want to say a safe choice, she pretty much is that, because
she's probably the safest choice
you could get, because she's been in the Senate. She has a long storied history in public service. Parts of it might have been controversial to some people. But we can talk about that later. But at this moment in charismatic, at this particular political moment, great choice. Great choice.
And I'll say this.
People are excited.
You got a Karen Bass.
Mm-hmm.
You have, oh my God.
Val Demings,
my
homegirl from Florida.
And I wondered,
she's from Jacksonville.
When I thought about that, I said, I need to holler.
She's not a Rains Viking, but she went to Wolfson, but she's still from Jacksonville.
And then you got a Susan Rice. And, all three, and of course, my girl down in Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottom. So
we got a Keisha.
Yeah, and that's what Keisha said. I went to her inauguration. She said, where else would Atlanta put a young black girl named Keisha become mayor of the city of Atlanta?
Yeah.
I have not forgotten that.
We got a Keisha.
But you got all these sisters right there, right? And to even be thought of as presidential timber, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be vice president at some point, we're looking at you to lead the country, right?
Yeah.
And so, but now Karen, I think Susan were a little bit more of the more serious candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there was a little give and go here? We think Kamala is a little bit safer than Karen versus the Scientology piece they talked about.
I think
Val Demings had a little bit of an issue with the weapon down, leaving a weapon.
I think all things considered, in this space that we're in, that Kamala was probably the safest choice. Because one of the things is, I don't think she'll be. Well, first of all, Karen Bass would have had problems in Florida because of because of her what she said about Castro. Which, she's right.
She was 19.
She's right. Yeah. She said she was 19.
She was 19.
But you know what? There's a lot of, I'm a Cubanist, and I've looked at what's happened with Cuba and everything. And Cuba does get a raw deal. And lots we don't know about Cuba. Yeah. We haven't been told the truth about a lot of things. But having said that, Florida is just a no-no. In Florida, you just don't want that kind of problem in Florida because of the Cuban-American vote down in Miami. So she might have been a problem with that. Val Demings would have had a problem because of the experience, hadn't been in Congress long enough, so you would have that issue with her. Susan Rice, not as well known. But then you got Kamala, who at one point was polling pretty decently. Yeah.
We talked about it before on the show.
I think at the time when she was running, and I think she had a hard time getting her message out. That's what I think. I think she had a hard time describing to people what it was she really stood for. And she didn't have money. You have to have a lot of money to run.
But so she stung Uncle Joe one time.
Yeah,
and I called him Uncle Joe. I mean, she stung Joe Biden pretty good there. And even for him to forget that and to look, that's politics. No, she was a good friend of Beau Biden, my son. Yeah. He believed in her. I'm going to believe in her.
Yeah. So when you narrowed all that down, I'm thinking she's probably, I've pretty much said it would either been her or perhaps Susan Rice with the foreign policy experience. Yeah, Susan Rice.
I think Benghazi would have gotten her.
Benghazi, and she got a crazy son that's a Trump supporter too.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And hey, go
figure. Can't believe it, right?
Go figure.
It's kind of like my guy who's Kellyanne Conway's husband, right?
Yeah,
George Conway.
Go figure.
You sleep in the same house, but he's.
I wonder what those conversations are like.
Do you think that Kellyanne comes in from the office? I'm not talking to you today.
Yeah.
You and that Lincoln Project. But anyway, I want to get down to a little bit about her background.
Okay.
Of course, she was the DA in San Francisco.
Yes.
Then she was elected as the AG for the state of California.
Yeah.
There's some that say she was not hard on cops, which is proven.
Yeah.
She wasn't hard on. She was really hard on mortgage companies, especially when we had the big tumultuous speech in 2008. She was not a death penalty advocate, but there are some that say she was a little bit too tough on black and brown men and women in the state of California. Take a listen. I want us to talk about that. Well, I tell you what, we'll hold it for another day, but I think there is something to that.
Okay.
And I think that's why a lot of our folks out there are saying that, is she the right choice because she was so tough on us?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to remember that she's gonna if Biden Harris, if that ticket wins, she's a vice president.
Sure.
She's not gonna be handling criminal affairs or anything like that. Although she's probably gonna reach into a lot of stuff. Being if she was to become something was to happen and she was to become president. But I think what has to happen now is that she's probably gonna have to address issues where she was perceived to have done something unfair. I understand there's a guy who believes he was wrongly convicted via her office. But what folks have got to understand is she was a prosecutor. Yeah. That's part of the job. Some of the harsh sentences that people may have gotten, how much do we know about the sentencing laws in California? Sure. She might have been bound by that. Who knows? I mean, you have to, I'm pretty sure this is just not a one size fits all kind of issue. And as far as just a generic claim where she locked up all these black men and she locked up all, we have to remember, not everybody is the Central Park Five. Not everybody is Khalif Browder. Not everybody is Brian Banks. Some people actually do stuff that they need to be locked up for. Yeah. So, just the blanket thing about, well, she's a cop. I mean, what's that? That was part of it. And the third thing I like to see about that is, we're beating up on her. Well, some people are just for merely being a prosecutor. But quite frankly, we need more African-American prosecutors and we need more African-Americans to sit on juries. We need all that stuff. So, I'm not really getting it. And just like you said, she was hard on mortgage companies. They said she was easy on cops, but that may be kind of subjective and stuff. And, we have to look at what cases. Were there any cases that came before her, like you see with George Floyd, where the cops murdered somebody, unarmed black people? What does that look like in California? I haven't, aside from the Rodney King case, nothing has, that I know of publicly in many, many years has gained any publicity.
I will say this, though, now, in terms of her being a tough prosecutor, she was anti-death penalty.
Oh, yeah.
So, now people say, well, I'll sit there and I'll rot. Well, sir, you can either kind of rot to death or we can go ahead and turn you into, I'm not going to make fun of it, but you get the point though, right? So can you have it both ways? And I have to remind people that prosecutors work for the state. Yeah. They're working to get relief for the victim.
Yeah.
So someone was victimized. Yeah. And so that's the prosecutor's job. Absolutely, so I don't want to always be anti. We're not anti-police, anti-prosecutor on funky politics by any measure. Yeah. But I want to make sure that people know that there is another side. Yeah. Let something happen to you. Yeah. Or happen to a loved one. You're going to want the book because we always talk about throwing the book at people, right?
I remember the time in 1990, it was 91 when I was mugged. And, I was mugged. I was mugged by a crackhead. He put a sawed-off shotgun in my face and stole my purse, threw me down on the ground and stuff and mugged me, and, I walked away, losing nothing but my purse and had a sore back and stuff. But I was mad.
Yeah, you weren't saying, I think the guy. I did more than a police report. I think you got to go to counseling, right?
I went down to the police station. I wanted them to find. I knew they probably weren't going to find him. But I can tell you, I was very angry. I was very angry about it. Now, I wouldn't have wanted him to have the death penalty, but I wanted to him to answer for it in some kind of way.
I want to stay right there. Not only Kamala, but Vice President Biden was considered the author of the 93 crime bill. Yeah. Well, there was a lot into that. He just didn't come up with the 93 crime bill. There was a huge cry out in the country then because crack had ravaged our communities, and there were a lot of folks in our communities that were saying we need to get something done. Not just white folks; these were black people.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I, quite frankly, I always say is my saying about this day and age, and no insult to the youngsters. Yeah, but I think that we're in this era where people have been, because of social media, internet, people have a lot of information, but they don't have wisdom. They don't have wisdom. They don't know how to put things into context. And some of them don't want to listen either and stuff. Sure. I told people that repeatedly back when Hillary Clinton was running, listen, you got to understand, many of y'all weren't born then. If you were, you would knee high to, like we said, to a June bug. That's right. You know, things were really, really bad then. I got mugged then. There were situations in some communities, particularly if they were poor communities, where you had drug dealers that had taken over streets. They'd be fighting with each other. Some people would be sitting in their living rooms and they'd run through the living room chasing each other, like in some of the projects. It was really, really bad. And although, the mass incarceration arose out of it, that's a horrible problem. But who you going to call? Who you going to go with? Somebody who may admit, listen, this was a problem. We got to fix this. Or somebody who don't care one way or the other. So you're not punishing them, by not voting because of that. You actually punishing yourself because, Trump and Pence don't care about fixing
So
that problem.
damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah, and actually Jeff Sessions, did more damage when he was in there. His views were awful. He wanted to bring back mandatory minimums, which is one thing. That's one thing that caused mass incarceration. But hey, be happy with your principles. You're not voting for Hillary Clinton because of the crime bill.
Well, of course, this president, 45, says that he's done great work with criminal justice reform. Sir, you let out 200 people.
Yeah,
Praise
most
the
of them
Lord.
were his friends.
Yeah, so you let out quite a few people.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, but you also released a lot of police departments from under the DOJ's oversight.
Yeah.
And so I would rather have those police. Look at what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
So, but now you got some of those same police departments that were released from oversight, right? That the Obama administration had them under, but now all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, now you're going to have more issues like what happened with Breonna Taylor.
Wow.
And, which she still,
Say her name, baby.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna
She still
Taylor.
hadn't been brought to justice.
I think yesterday was 150 days or something like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Well,
It's ridiculous.
I want to jump to something else. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, one of the largest sororities in the country, 300,000 strong members. It's a service organization. She's a member. She made line Spring '86, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I played Spring '87, so but I look a lot older.
I
than
went
she
to
does.
AKAT. That was, I'm not just saying that because of Kamala. I went to T. I just decided the sorority life wasn't for me.
Wasn't for you?
But that was the first one I considered.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, my daughter Shanice is a member of AKA, and I know a lot of them are beaming with pride.
Yeah, I know they are.
A couple of Alliance
my
sisters
cousins.
out there.
I got my best friend and my cousin.
So Dr. Glover, who happens to be the president of Tennessee State University, and also she is the international supreme bacheloress of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, and I need to say it like they say, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. What does it say to have such a large organization of Black women? And they have some whites, and they have some other mixed races in the sorority as well. But what does it say to have such a large organization of Black women who has a storied history of service that will be getting behind you, and more than likely the rest of the Divine Nine, which are the other Black Greek letter organizations?
It says once again that Joe Biden made a wise choice. He made a very wise choice, because if you look at the fact that African American women have been the backbone of the Democratic Party for a long time, and now you have this vice presidential candidate who's not only, African American, and stuff, whatever, but part of that sorority, which is pumped up, fired up. They will work. They'll work. They'll also get the other Divine Nine, because I know they'll enlist the Deltas, and the Deltas are happy too.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll never forget when Loretta Lynch was being confirmed, and he would try, and the Deltas was front row, like with their hands folded like that. I'd say, you better not. It was like, you better not.
This sister sat up there, boy, with that red on. Okay.
I was like, hey, that's that doggone red triangle. That triangle is gonna make it happen. So between the Deltas, between the AKAs, between the Sigma Gamma Rho, between the Zetas, and forget the brothers.
That's right.
I know the Kappas are happy.
Sigmas and
it looked
Omegas
like
and
somebody
Iotas.
posted a picture. She was a Kappa sweetheart.
She was a Kappa sweetheart. So
I was a Kappa sweetheart.
Well, see,
too,
praise the Lord. I know I like you for some odd reason.
I was a Kappa. My dad was a Kappa.
He was a great man. As old folks, he was a great man. Great man.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that sorority life for African Americans and fraternal life for African Americans, it's a lifelong position that we take. And some of our other brothers on the other side, which I have no problem with IFC, because I've done a lot of work with interfraternity conference members and the Panhellenic members. Once their college days are done, they are pretty much done with it. But ours is one where we get into these communities. And so what Kamala has done in San Francisco, what she's done in the state of California, her time at Howard, and I need to shout out Howard University, because she is an HBCU grad of the Howard University, the Bison is what I understand. And so you got that HBCU piece.
Oh, you got the HBCU.
So whether you are Greek or not, that HBCU pride is coming out. Right?
And here's how this is going to work out. We hope it works out. Between all of that, between being able to mobilize all of the fraternities and social groups, I think she's a link too.
Oh wow!
I think she's a link too. Wow. Between all of that, between them getting together and doing all this stuff. Remember, at the same time, when you look at how the demographics has changed with voting, no Democrat has won the majority of the white vote since the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
But Obama didn't win the majority of the white vote, but he won just enough. I think the white vote for Obama was something like 40%, something like that.
It was because he got the white Democrats.
Yeah.
He got those white independents.
Yeah.
And he was just something that was fresh out there, right?
Yeah. But between that, but let's say some of them decided, now I want to go with Trump. I'm not going to vote him. All you got to do is run up the turnout. If you get minority people enthusiasm real high, which, not only Kamala do that, but the fact that Trump has been so racist and awful to everything, that would cancel out anybody who defects. So that was a good one. That was a good one because
I just saw the latest poll. I saw the latest poll on the race, and this was a Fox poll.
Mm-hmm.
Fox poll has the Biden-Harris team up 7%.
Yeah.
So the difference is 7%. Now, a month ago, it was 8%.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I will say now that if I was a betting man, and I am a betting man, I ain't been to a casino in a while, Lord. This Rona got you.
This Rona got us.
I ain't going down no casino right now. But I would say if there are no major faux pas, that he will win those. He will win Wisconsin, and I've said this on this program before. He'll take Wisconsin, Pennsylvania.
Michigan's gone. He gonna get Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah. Ohio's in play
and
now.
Florida.
Ohio's a toss up right now.
Exactly.
We didn't expect because Obama won Ohio.
Sure.
Florida's now. They said I saw on Nate Silver's today that Florida is slightly favored for Biden. Slightly favored.
Wow.
Florida's slightly favored. Trump is still slightly. Now, I couldn't imagine Trump being slightly favored to win Texas. Now, but I don't think he's going to win. I don't think Biden going to win Texas.
Wouldn't it be something if the state of Texas was flipped? Now, I'm going to tell you
if Texas was flipped, game over.
Well, I'll say this also. You do know that you have Senator John Cornyn, who's down in Texas, who's up for re-election, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got Senator Cornyn, who is in a senior leadership position with the Republicans. If Biden can flip Texas, what does that say about Senator Cornyn? Now, we'll see if the love for him is so strong that it outweighs everything else. But there is a possibility. You see a text. I have a concern, and I've been talking to some of the Biden people, and Mississippi is not on our radar. But I think at some point we have to address the inequity. And I don't want to get away from this thing about Kamala, but I think it's a part of this whole political dynamic. We have to get to the point where we treat Mississippi as a possibility of a pickup. You got Mike Espy now, who's running
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
The state has 37 to 38% black folk. And that's not the folk, them the folks who stayed and didn't leave to go north.
Yeah,
So you've got 38%.
And some people wonder why they stayed there, but they stay in there. They can make it.
Because you know what? Because they had farmland.
And a lot of them still got family roots there. Yeah.
So they kept those roots going. And some of our people who are now in California got folk down there in Mississippi that they go back home every other once in a while to eat good. Right?
That's right.
Eat good. Yeah. And so Mississippi has such a large number of African Americans. We've never, ever taken it serious enough to say, let's go there and let's do voter education, voter registration, and voter mobilization. You do those three things, you put Mississippi in play. Why not Mississippi?
They should do that. And look at, and even though it might be short lived, look at what happened in Alabama during the midterms with Doug Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, Doug had that crazy Roy Moore, stuff.
Judge Moore.
Judge Moore, which, but still, he was on MSNBC this morning saying, after credit my win is strong African-American women turning out and stuff.
And he has voted that way. He voted against Kavanaugh.
He sure did. Yeah.
He's voted to uphold women's rights. So Doug Jones knows which side of the bread is buttered in his favor, right?
So even with that, that says that Mississippi, but Alabama, deep red state, not all the way totally, I mean, they're not immovable. They're not immovable.
I'm not going to mention the guy's name who is running.
Tuberville, some coach,
Tommy,
I hope they have some debates, because I'm like, listen, y'all,
he didn't debate Jeff Sessions at all.
Oh yeah,
so he didn't. He blew off all the debates.
Yeah,
but Tommy Tuberville, I never knew the guy was even political. I think they got him because of the name. Yeah, of course he was at Auburn, and there's a lot of Alabama people who are Auburn, but now a lot of folks are Alabama as well too, University of Alabama. So, but I don't understand a guy who coached so many black players all those years. comes out with such vile messages supporting
Trump
president.
Yeah.
And that just tells me that anybody wants to win these days. Just like the white chick in, I'm
people
going to call her what she's the white stupid chick down in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor Greene, her name. Yeah, I'm going to call her full name. She said, well, the first thing I get there, we're going to vote that BITCH out. Ma'am, you're going to get the worst office space in the House.
Well, first of all, if
she got to win first. So.
Yeah, she got to. You see, I'm confused. I didn't think she had an opponent. I think she might have just gotten.
No, she was in that jungle primary down there. And she beat the guy. She was a physician she was running against. And of course, she beat him by, I looked at the numbers, it was about 14%, right? And so now there's a general election in November with her and Osdale, who's a Democrat candidate.
Okay. All right.
But it's a strong red district.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 14.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only issue with that is that it does not look like there's a way forward for Democrats there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to send this goofy woman to the House.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you what a Nancy Pelosi is gonna do for you. Yeah. You will get the worst office.
They're not gonna get anything done. They're gonna vote for this woman, this QAnon crazy person and stuff. Yeah. And she's up here already saying crazy things about Nancy Pelosi. Okay, we'll see what happens. Here's what committees you think you're gonna get on.
Yeah.
You know, what committees you think how much progress is she's gonna make when she's on any committee and she's spewing conspiracy theories. They're gonna just tune her out. That district won't get anything. I hope they're happy.
The big birther thing now, all of a sudden with Kamala, put this birther stuff to her. Well, she was born in Oakland, but her parents were not. Get the hell out of here! I'm so sick of that.
Okay, she was born in Oakland, so we're done. Okay, she was born in Oakland.
Born in Oakland. Good.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so she's born in Oakland.
Case closed.
She's born in America.
And actually, the media should stop giving that air.
Exactly.
She was born in Oakland. We're not talking about it anymore. Just like we need to stop talking about, is she really black? We
need to stop talking about it.
And we need to start talking.
Yes,
stop talking about it.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to skip over to the Senate.
Yeah.
The Senate went home this week. They did not cut a deal. As a matter of fact, they weren't even in the picture because the deal cutters were Mnuchin and was Mark Meadows, who's the chief of staff. Mnuchin, of course, is a Treasury Secretary for the country, and he was dealing that straight out of the White House with Speaker Pelosi and with Minority Leader Schumer out of New York. There was no deal cut. So, of course, Mitch McConnell took his toys and took his ball, and he went back to Kentucky. Tonyaa, what does that do for those people out there who look like you and me and poor whites, poor whites who could really use the stimulus check, number one, of $1,200.
Yeah,
and for their dependents another $500.
I was hoping for that. And that's I'm waiting for another stimulus check. That'd be good.
I make $20 a year. I'm looking at my stimulus check.
Another stimulus.
So what happens to those folks out there now? What's the way forward?
The way forward is kind of like on the Titanic, like they said, just wait, and sit and wait, and for absolution, that's all you can do is just wait and see what happens. I'm hearing that the evictions will start at the end of August.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be back when in September.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless they can retroactively pass something that can stop these once they get back.
The president said he signed an executive order that he says will nullify evictions going forward. That's what he says to the executive order. I'm not so sure he can do it, but now he can probably direct Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA to not foreclose. He probably can. And so I would I'm 50-50 on that. But in terms of the $1,200 outlay, cutting down the unemployment from 600 to 400, and then the states have to meet the $100 of the four. That's the weirdest crap I've ever heard in my life. I don't understand.
It's weird, and it's very shameful from the sense that it's not like our government can't afford it. It's not even an argument about affordability or practicality. It's an argument about ideology, which we shouldn't have any place for right now and stuff. The fact is $600 to Tennessee. I mean, I had to take a furlough, a week's furlough, April, May, and June.
Wow.
And stuff. And I was shocked to learn that just the base unemployment here is $275.
That's right.
That extra $600 helped me a lot. I lost a fourth of my salary, for those 3 months. That $600 helped the whole. It still wasn't what I would make, but it helped a whole lot. It helped a whole lot, and I could just imagine somebody else, with kids and with all other things being equal, having to try to make it on $275, unemployment a week. But this whole thing is real craven for the fact that apparently what's happening with them is they're probably getting their marching orders from these corporations, that pay minimum wage, don't hardly pay these people anything. They're trying to force these folk to go back to work. Okay. That's what they're trying to do at the risk of their health, at the risk of everything. Some of these people that you're forcing back to work to get that, for that little money you're paying them, you have to remember, a lot of these are women who don't have daycare. What are they going to do? They can't send their kids to daycare because of issues with COVID and spacing. So that's $600.
What did the Georgetown study though? I think it was Georgetown that did the study. But in the study, and this is the one that the president is quoting, that says that these people are getting enough money. No, that's not what the study said.
That's not what the study said at all. Didn't say that at all.
Didn't say. They said they did not find any data that says that people are declining. Because you know what happens? If the commercial people say, "Hey, no, Tonyaa, I need you back here tomorrow," nah, I think I'm gonna keep this $600. All they have to do is report it to the state.
That's right.
You lose the outlay. So I don't understand what this big cry is about. People are staying home because they want to. That's a damn lie.
It's just not true. But that's been part of the GOP brand, and unfortunately, a lot of
wages
people
are low too in our country. Yeah, it proves that wages are really low.
It proves wages are really low, and it's been part of their brand for a long time. They demonize the poor. They demonize. It's like
women.
Women. If you're not working, if you're not making money and successful, it's your fault. And they're all lazy, and they all want to, and it's got racist origins. And well, you all are just getting away with you just don't want to work, and that's the problem. No, it ain't about anybody being lazy and not wanting to work. It's about the incompetence of this president, who knew about this virus since January. I mean, even before that, did nothing about it. It's now spread, and it's created, and the tentacles of how it's affecting our society is spread out into every area. And now we just need all kinds of things to fix it. You just can't gaslight it away or wish it away. And punishing people for trying to survive is not the way to go.
One thing you said about the tentacles that have been just outlays of what's going. And I tell people now, I've said this on this program before, I do not, and I want to make sure I'll let you, I do not fault the president for the virus. He didn't do it, but I do fault him, Tonyaa, for the way he's managed the process. Mr. President, you are the president. No, it's not up to the governors to set policy. No, it's not up to the governors to lead. No, it's not up to the governors to get PPE in their states. It's the federal government's role to be. That's what we have FEMA for. It's an emergency management situation, sir. If you think George Bush had the gumption not to let the state of Louisiana lead the recovery in New Orleans.
Yeah, his only problem was the guy he had in charge of was
incompetent. He did tell Brown. He did not tell.
Heck of a job, Brownie.
I tell Jim, I said, "You're doing a heck of a job there, Jim." And that's what he told Brown. New Orleans is underwater. But you're doing a heck of a job there, Brownie.
He followed the right procedure.
Sure
strategically, the guy who had running it just wasn't qualified to
do
it.
This guy was, I think he sold horses.
He sold horses. He just was a crony who wasn't qualified to do it. But getting back what we're saying, I think about this often. And here's another thing that's so crazy about this. If Trump had managed this crisis, right, he could be on the way to re-election. Here's what he should have done. If divisiveness and racism and sexism wasn't something he was totally vested in, here's what he could have done and would have been on the way to re-election. He could have done like Roosevelt, like a chat on TV. Listen, America, we being attacked by an enemy that that's an insidious one. It's this virus. It's affecting everything, but we can beat it. He could have given, we can beat it if you wear your mask. I'm asking everybody to wear their mask. I'm sending to the states enough PPE. I'm giving everybody, like Canada, $2,000 a month, protect the small business, give them what they need. But as Americans together, what we got to do is stay home. If y'all get all this and do it for me, stay home. This is the only way that we as Americans are going to beat this virus. And in 2 months, we can all come out again. A lot of people would have listened to him. A lot of people, he would have been able to change his image in a big way. Now, maybe a lot of us might have still not voted for him, but it would have probably motivated some people to say, well, maybe he's making a change.
At least his legacy.
His legacy.
Whether he wins or not. But his legacy, if he loses, is, sir, you were a failed president. You failed the economy?
Yeah.
Now you'll say, well, the stock market did all this. Yeah, the stock market is up. The Dow Jones, it is. That is no, but it's nothing that you have done.
Yeah.
This country was on the right track prior to him coming into office, right?
Yeah.
So he took a good economy and he's made it better. There's no doubt
All he
about
did
it.
was cribble. He just benefited off what Obama already started and just didn't mess it up. And now, by not paying attention to the details, not reading his briefings, it's all messed up.
Can you can't. That? You don't read your
unbelievable.
national security briefings.
I couldn't keep a job if I did that. If I was that unprepared and kept messing up like that. But that's how white privilege works in this country.
That's what we got.
But he could have turned this horrible thing into something that could have unified the country. Could have made his biggest detractor see him in a different light and say, well, maybe he's pivoting finally, and use it as a way to, instead of just trying to appeal to conspiracies. He comes out and says it'll magically go away. It's a hoax. It's a Democratic hoax. He does all of that stuff. And now over 160,000 Americans are dead, and everybody's pointing at him, and they should. He had an opportunity to be a real wartime president, but he messed it up. He messed it up because he don't know what to do, because he's unqualified and he just clueless. He doesn't know how to do anything but appeal to the people who racist and he just all he knows how to do. That's what he likes doing. He likes the adoration of the people at these rallies who's saying things like, send her back, kill him, lock him up. That's what he likes. That's horrible. That's what he likes. That's what he lives for. That's why he wanted to have that rally in Tulsa that Herman Cain came to.
And look at Herman Cain now. Wow.
Yeah.
Herman Cain passed away because he got COVID.
Well, and that's another big tragedy. The real tragedy to me of Herman Cain is here's an African American man
from Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, he's from Memphis.
Yes. Born in Memphis, Tennessee.
Born in Memphis, kind of self-made, Godfather's Pizza and everything. But he needed the adoration of these folks so much that he goes and risks his life. None of them Republicans, I understand, came to his funeral. Nobody.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody came to his funeral.
I saw some photos, and you're right. I didn't see the Senate Majority Leader there. I didn't see the Mark Meadows there.
Yeah, he's up
even
there.
though I think it was a private funeral, but John Lewis's funeral was private, but you saw he was there, right?
You saw it was there. Yeah. None of them came to his funeral.
Herman Cain's gone. God rest his soul. I think he was a very decent man. I think at the time he ran, I think it could have been something, but it wasn't.
Mr. 999.
Mr. 999 was not a bad deal. I want to just throw out a couple of facts here. There's two acts that are sitting out there right now. There's the HEALS Act, which is a payroll tax cut, stimulus check. Also, it's a $1 trillion act, and this is the one that's proposed by the Republicans. Then there's a HEROES Act out of the Congress where you had Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer working on that, and it takes on money for local and state governments, schools, unemployment extension, SNAP benefits, utilities, among other things. So you got two major acts sitting out there, but nobody's acting on anything. Nobody's acting on the damn thing, and we got Americans right now that will go without food. We got Americans that will go without energy, and we got Americans that will be put out on the streets here probably by mid-September.
And you know what's going to happen with all that stuff? If the vote is going to happen, depending on who has the best spin on that, because the Republicans going to blame the Democrats, Democrats going to blame the Republicans, Trump is going to blame the Democrats. He's going to have all his little nicknames, Nervous Nancy, and all of that stuff. The public is going to be confused and stuff, but they also going to be they're going to be hungry, and they're going to be out on the streets.
And they're going to say, "Who did this to me?" And they're going to look at the leader.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot of spinning and crafting to blame anybody other than the leader.
Speaking of leader, I want to jump to another subject before we get out of here, and that is the protests. There was the protest in Portland is still going on. Seattle, Chicago, and Tonyaa, I'm a little bit older than you are. I'm 53. So my deal is this: I have never seen, even looking back in our history books of black protests, even the Marcus Garvey days. I've never seen whites, and I'm talking about whites in our country, rally around a theme like they have rallied around this theme of Black Lives Matter. And I think those allies have helped us to convince the rest of the world that this thing is real, and and that is not going anywhere unless we change it. What say you?
I agree. I think, speaking and I'm so much younger than you.
Well, you're a couple months younger than me, but that's okay.
No. But speaking as an old journalist, old head and stuff, one of the things that I have to credit our profession for, as much as we're under siege this time, is certain things, that you bring to the public can resonate with people. That footage, which wasn't taken by a journalist, it was taken by a 17-year-old girl, George Floyd, calling for his mother, everybody saying, "Get your knee off my neck," and everything. Yeah. That's the thing that shocked everybody, because before that, a lot of people just didn't think it was that bad. But if you saw him on camera like that, and you saw this, just the callousness in that police officer's face,
you see his eyes.
His eyes, yeah.
His eyes. To me, his eyes said, "My knee is on the neck of every person of color in this country,
and you can't do anything you can do about it.
Like,
who gonna check me, boo?" It was like a "who gonna check me?" So you saw that and everything. That had the same impact back in the 70s. I think it was either in the late 60s or 70s, of the photo of the napalm girl.
Oh yeah.
When everybody was protesting Vietnam, was saying we should get, and that photo is what I said. Well, this little girl who had to take off all her clothes because she stopped burning and you saw this little girl running, and that's made people think, well, maybe these people got a point. What are we doing there if we napalming little kids like this and stuff? And that helped that's the same thing that happened. It got everybody on board. And that's what's happening, what you're seeing in Seattle and places like that too, because I think when you look at a lot of white people, the ones that are allies, they really want to get this racism behind us. They're clear-eyed on the fact that, this country, can't move forward until we resolve that. It's like a family secret that we got to get out in the open, and we gotta resolve, and we got to try to move forward. And they're out there because, that's in their way, the way you keep the attention going on it and stuff. Now they get a lot of bad publicity about Antifa, which really isn't a thing, So
what other? I mean, there are organizations out there that just say, "Hey, NFAC, we're not taking this crap anymore."
Yeah.
So this is it.
And I'm anti-fascist. Who wants fascists?
Who wants fascists? And I'm glad you went there, because this takes us back to John Lewis. Of course, since the last time you've been on here, of course, we lost John Lewis here this past month.
Yeah, I wrote a column. I
saw that.
You know what? The thing about him, I had a picture with him. He came to Jacksonville once. I did a big story about him and his legacy that was like in 2015. But it's like everybody he met, he took a picture with. That tells you a lot about him. Let
me tell you, I was with him in D.C. I want to say it was 3 years ago at the CBC. He was getting out of his truck. His aides were there with him. We were going to Marriott Hotel. Yeah. And we had this cafe table. But he made it his business to sit there and take photos with us and talk and engage us. That's the kind of man he was. But
humble.
Just like you were talking about the napalm girl, we were talking about George Floyd now. But I want to go back to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. America and the world saw the viciousness of our country, state viciousness.
Oh yeah.
When he walked down, they walked and they knelt and prayed, and they put the horses on him.
Yeah.
And they put put the dogs on him in those billy clubs, and they opened up his skull. Why does the world have to see our nakedness for us to understand we have no clothes on? The king has no clothes on. Tonyaa, why is that?
I don't like it as much as you do. That thought riles me up every time I think about it. It's like, what it shows is that for the majority of people here in the way that America is centered, the way that people don't interact every day like they should, that by and large African Americans we don't have the voice that we should have. We just don't have the voice, and it's almost like the extreme has to happen for people to realize that here we're not joking. I mean, this happened with Emmett Till. When they were trying to bring, let me tell you, before Emmett Till before he was lynched in Money, Mississippi, Florida, my home state, led in per capita in lynchings. A guy who was lynched there, I can't think of his name right now, but they pulled him out of the house because he wrote a love letter to his white girl classmate. Her daddy and his friend came to his house, got him, put him in, put a millstone around his neck and threw him in the Swanee River and stuff. And that's what started Harry Moore. He was the field secretary for the NAACP in Florida, him and his wife. That's when they started writing. They brought Thurgood Marshall to Florida about lynchings and started writing about lynchings. He organized teachers and everything. He and his wife got bombed Christmas Day 1956, their house was blown up in Brevard County and stuff. But all of that stuff happened. But it took Emmett
Vernon Dahmer down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Outside Hattiesburg. They set his house on fire.
Yeah. But that just the sheer hatred and everything. But it took the media, which in this case was Jet Magazine, and Mamie Till being courageous enough to say, "Don't close my son's coffin. I want to see
the world to see that."
And the world saw that, and they said, "Wow, that's what it was." Well, we've been trying to tell you this. Nobody was just making. That's why it's so important, to
Black Wall Street in Tulsa, though. But how many more? But Tonyaa, all I'm asking, there's two questions I'm asking. Why do you hate us so?
Yeah.
Why do you hate us so? And how many more of these George Floyd incidents need to take place, or these Vernon Dahmer incidents, or these Emmett Till, or these Breonna Taylor instances, or Rashad Brooks, before you actually have a system of people that says, okay, we're taking it to the streets. Tamika Mallory said, and I'm gonna quote her a little bit. She was doing an interview, and I think she was in Baltimore, I think it was, and she said, "I don't give a damn about a Target or AutoZone. Where were they when those folks were putting their knees and see, and they were talking about
Target and AutoZone, all that which properties insured."
Sure. We talk a lot about that, about the protest, and I'm not advocating,
and I'm not advocating that. Yeah, make sure I'm not advocating. Go tear it. I'm just.
What I'm saying
is, they're not going to be
where
dead.
were the corporations prior to? You're hiring those same dogged officers to be your security officers for overtime. They making it off you. So don't talk to me about that. We're going to do what we got to do. We're going to keep marching. We're going to keep fighting. And at some point, you're going to listen to us. You're going to listen to us one way or the other. You're going to listen to us. Oh, and speaking of listening to us, NBA. The NBA is in this huge bubble in Orlando, Florida. I was in Orlando, Florida long ago, and didn't get a chance to see any games or anything because none of us can see them other than virtually, which is kind of weird to me. But anyway, the NBA has taken a very strong position in terms of how they are addressing racial injustice in our country. I think by far Silverman and his group has got it. I think they got it in terms of how I like it better than what some of the other Jerry Jones out of Dallas. This guy.
And 2 years ago went and knelt with the players. They
I think the NBA gets it more. I'm not going to say they are up in a but it's economics too, though, right?
Yeah.
Because if you ain't got a LeBron playing, you ain't got this playing.
And that's another thing that's so bizarre in this whole thing with all of the racist backlash and everything, and we fighting about going to school. They don't want to give up the sports. They say sports unites a country. Yeah, you got Laura Ingraham, who's her latest tweets. Yeah, she's an idiot. Her latest, and she's a racist. Oh yeah, I said it. But anyhow, her latest tweets, she's talking about, why can't the players play? We can go to church, but they can't play. I'm thinking, I know you're not worried. Didn't you just tell them to shut up and dribble?
She said, shut up and dribble.
But what it is but you're hearing that you're hearing this from a lot of these folks who are anti, who are pro police and don't want to, and anti Black Lives Matter, who are fussing about why can't the college football season and all, because at the end of the day, those black athletes bring in all that money.
I want to talk about that. I'm glad you went there with the college athletes. And then, of course, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten says we're not
doing it. We're not
playing. But now the SEC, and even our conference in the AAC, they said we're going to play. We're just going to make sure there's some protocols in place that these young people don't get sick. Now,
how you do that with players, football? I have no idea.
You got players that said, I want to play, and I understand that. But you're also still talking about a young man who's 18 to 21 years of age, right? And all of a sudden, he wants to make the decision. He wants to play ball. But son or daughter, if you're playing soccer or something like that, or whatever the sport is, the fall sport is, what happens when you do get sick? What happens when you do get sick? Well, I think there's no guarantees. Like our children, we sent the children back to school.
You can't social distance playing football. How are you going to do that? How would you social distance? Tackling, but how would you do that?
Flag. What a flag.
I don't know. I mean, you can't take 6. I don't see how you. I guess you test everybody and you take the temperature.
Well, they said the protocols are going to be. I think in the
I guess you can do that.
The SEC said that they're going to do 3 a week, I think it is. And
maybe that could work. But you know what? This also, like I said, the coronavirus has exposed so much inequality. And what that also shows is more inequality. Many of those athletes, the black ones particularly, come from poor. They're the first in the family to go to college. They usually come from poor families, not all the time, sure, but a lot of them come from families that they're the person who's going to help lift that whole family out of poverty, sure, and stuff. So they don't want to miss their chance. But if you didn't have so many people living in poverty and you didn't have people in that kind of desperate situation, then they'd have some choices. So, well, you know what? I got to stay alive, so I just can't do it. They'd be more in a position to turn that down than to feel like they have to take it because, of what they may or may not lose. So that's another thing that this virus has ripped the blinders off. Sure. A lot of people, just like in that sense, they're like the frontline workers who mostly are black, who dying from this.
Tonyaa, that's a whole nother show. Yeah. Talking about those men and women who work in these nursing homes, who are paid those meager wages, but they are the last person your loved one talked to prior to transitioning, mm-hmm, and then they sneak their cell phone in so that you can talk to them FaceTime. So I'm sorry. At some point, we have to address pay equity in terms of nursing facilities, mm-hmm, in terms of care homes, because those are some of the folks who need to have those wages increased. Okay. Mm-hmm. And on that note, I think our producers tell me we got to get out of here. We got to
get out of here.
But I want to make sure that folks know that Funky Politics is here to stay. I want you all to catch us Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 11 a.m. We're going to have some shows out there. We're going to have some great guests coming up. Of course, I'm going to always have my friend back here, Tonyaa. Yeah. Thanks, Tonyaa, for coming in.
Shirt, this better day.
I saw that, boy. Look at this journal here with it says the real deal. Oh, Lord. She got to sit down, Tonyaa. But anyway, folks, so, hey, look, we had a lot of fun today. Hopefully, you got this information, you took it, and you're going to use it. And look, we're going to be back with some more Funky Politics. I got a couple closing thoughts just after this. Give me just a second.
I ain't scared of you, mother.
R&R on Sports.
Pitcher, left-hander, Vita Blue. Welcome to R&R on Sports.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be on. Let's get it on, man. Let's talk to baseball. That's right. Talk to sports.
It's R&R on Sports.
We have had one hell of a show today. Tonyaa Weathersbee, as I said, not only is she a University of Florida Hall of Famer, but she's actually a Gannett. A Gannett Award winner, columnist. But let me make sure, I want to leave you all with some things. Make sure you still call your senator's office. We've got 2 in 10. Everybody's got 2, right? You got 2. Call those senators and say, get back to work. Our country needs your efforts right now. We don't need you sitting at home. We don't need you on a golf course with the president. We don't need you in any sauna at some spa somewhere. We need you to get serious about getting real relief out to these folks who are really hurting. And there's a lot of us that are hurting out there right now, right? Another thing, man, this COVID-19 is not going away. Yes, we have some states whose numbers have plateaued. We got some who are taking a little bit of a dive. We got other areas in our country that are still trajectorying up. I need you all to maintain your social distancing. Wear your damn mask. Wash your damn hands. That's the only way we are going to resist this thing that keeps showing its ugly head. They don't know what it is right now. They have no clue. They're working on vaccines. They got to work on trials. If anything else, make sure that you become a part of the community of participants that take part in these trials. They need to see people like us. They need to see African Americans and other minorities as participants so we can make sure the vaccine works for us. Now, whether you take the vaccine or not, that's fine. But I need you all to make sure you make yourselves available for trials. Well, that's all I got on today. It's been a funky kind of Friday because today is just a funky kind of day. That's the way we like it here. I'm glad my host was here with me, my old co-host, my old guest host, my guest, Tonyaa Weathersbee of the Commercial Field Columnist. Make sure you check her out on a daily basis as well. We'll be back with a lot more and some more shows to come. See you next time right here on Funky Politics. I'm DC and I'm out of cheer.
Funky Politics, recorded at Kudzukian Studios, directed, produced, and distributed by Kudzukian.